Welcome to Talk Me Healthy. My name is Scherrie Keating, founder, Diabetes Care Consulting. The goal of Talk Me Healthy is to provide you education on how to live your best life every day starting today. Each show will bring a different health-related topic and exciting guests to share their expertise, passion, and personal stories. My hope is you will hear something that motivates you to make a small step towards living a healthier, happier life. Welcome to Talk Me Healthy. This is Scherrie Keating, your host, and today's show is an exciting show on Parkinson's disease and the Parkinson Foundation and the Moving Day event coming up in Boston. So I have two very special guests with me today I'd like to introduce to you. My first guest is Francesca Villa, and Francesca is a Community Development Manager for the Parkinson's Foundation, right?
Yeah.
Did I get that right? Okay, good. And then Bob Deperon, and he's the Director of Community Outreach at Right at Home.
That is correct.
So welcome. I'm so excited to have you guys here today and to talk about this disease.
Absolutely.
I actually had a dad who had multi-systems atrophy, and he had a lot of the symptoms of Parkinson's. Mm-hmm. So this is dear to my heart as well. So I'm excited for you to share some information about the disease itself and about the foundation and Moving Day.
We'd be happy to.
So, you know what, I like to start off with getting to know you a little bit. I like the viewers to get to know who you are a little bit and why you're doing what you're doing. So, would you mind sharing that information?
Sure. So I have been with the Parkinson's Foundation for 2 years, and I actually got involved with Parkinson's disease because my grandpa suffered from Parkinson's and died from complications about 10 years ago. Parkinson's is a disease that affects about 1 million Americans right now, and here in Massachusetts it's at 25,000. And the symptoms vary, and when I was younger, I didn't understand what was happening. My grandpa was a World War II general. He drove a Jeep around Germany, which was his favorite story to tell us when we were kids, and he met my grandma in Germany. And when he came back to America, he was known in the town where my mom grew up as the man with the tank in his front yard. So he was this big, booming man who drove a tank into his front yard to keep my mom and her boyfriends in line. And when he got diagnosed with Parkinson's...
Seriously?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Seriously. My mom and my dad is very lucky to have met my mom after the tank phase.
I was going to say, that was pretty scary for any guy to drive up
Oh,
and
yeah.
see a big old tank in the front yard.
Yeah. But that was where my grandpa was, right? I remember him screaming at us out the window to get out of the pool when it was time for dinner. My grandpa Joe was a very strong man. And when he was diagnosed with PD, the first symptoms for him were facial masking. So he no longer had a sense of expression on his face. And then he really lost the strength in his voice. And from there, he deteriorated quickly. And as a grandchild, not knowing what was happening to my grandpa, someone who I really knew exactly what he was like, this loud man with a tank, it was really hard to watch what he went through. And one of the things I thought a lot about as my aunt became his primary caregiver was the fact that there was no resources for us as a family. It was a scary diagnosis, and my grandpa would see a neurologist every 6 months and then not see anyone. And he didn't have a support system. He didn't have care. He didn't have other people. And he really went into himself. And it was a rough time because he suffered from Parkinson's for 10 plus years. So I found the Parkinson's Foundation because one of their key focuses is empowering patients to take care of themselves and empowering them to be an active member of their treatment and live healthier lives, so that my grandpa could have come with us to horseback riding and figure skating instead of holding up and feeling like he wasn't a part of society. So I've been doing this work ever since, and hoping that other people's grandparents and their fathers and their moms and their sisters can have a better experience with the disease.
And I bet your grandfather's very proud of you.
Yeah.
Good for you. And how about you, Bob?
It's a slightly different story in that respect. Probably about 4 years ago now, growing up and so forth, I've known some people who had been diagnosed with Parkinson's, and I didn't have as much of a history with that. So I'd say, oh, okay, you got Parkinson's, and not really know what was going on. And then about 4 years ago, we were approached by the Parkinson's Foundation, and this is Right at Home in general, and we found that our corporate Right at Home office, which is very large throughout the U.S. and international, that they are a national sponsor, and they asked us to get involved because Moving Day they wanted to bring to Boston. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of great causes, but I thought this would be a great opportunity to learn more about Parkinson's and get involved in such a great cause. So this is my 4th year now being part of Moving Day and being part of the committee. And because of that, I've gotten to know so many more people with Parkinson's, learned about their stories, learned about the resources involved, been able to start a Parkinson's classroom support group as well, and just been able to help and just help people with so many different resources in the area, get to work with people like Francesca, and she's been great and a wonderful new resource the last couple of years with Parkinson's, and to have the ability to get other people involved as well. And it's just been a really great experience, and that's basically my story.
That's wonderful. I love the work that you're doing. That's it's so needed. So what is Parkinson's? So if the viewer is asking to know some more information, what would you share with them about what Parkinson's is? How is it diagnosed? Are there treatment? Is this like a terminal sort of disease? I know it's progressive, but...
Sure. So Parkinson's is a neurodegenerative disease. What happens is the neurotransmitter dopamine in the brain is involved in almost every part of your life, from body to emotion to movement. And people with Parkinson's don't produce as much dopamine as people who do not have it. And over time, as the dopamine degenerates and you produce less and less, it can affect both motor and non-motor symptoms, or motor and non-motor parts of your life. What that means is maybe you develop a tremor, your walk changes, facial masking, so you lose the ability to show facial emotions. Non-motor can be cognitive changes. Constipation is a big one. Your handwriting changes. Loss of smell. Loss of smell and constipation are some non-motor symptoms that can actually help diagnose the disease early on. The majority of people with Parkinson's are diagnosed between 50 and 70. There are people with early onset Parkinson's between 30 and 50. And just like other diseases, it comes in stages. Researchers have divided Parkinson's into about 5 stages. And that's as the dopamine levels in your brain slowly degenerate more and more and more. Now, there is no cure currently for Parkinson's disease. However, with treatment, by supplementing dopamine in the brain with a specific drug, levodopa, that can help level out the dopamine that you're missing. And over time, different research, different pharmaceutical companies have found ways to really supplement those parts of the brain to help your life and help with the diagnosis. But another very key finding that we'll talk about a lot is that movement really helps quality of life, and the physical activity of moving can significantly slow the progression of the disease.
And what's interesting is that it manifests itself differently in every person. So not one person has the same symptoms, and some it can be movement, it can be freezing, and others it can be more cognitive type of changes. So everything's different, and the treatment is different for everybody too. The different levels of medication can be different as well. So it's a very personalized disease.
So if a viewer's watching and they want to know what symptoms should they be reporting besides, so constipation, that kind of is very vague. I mean, a lot of things.
I mean, there's a few, right?
Constipation.
Having a tremor, maybe your handwriting's changed. You've lost your sense of smell and it hasn't come back.
Okay.
Cognitive changes, sleeping problems.
Okay.
But really, it's talking to your doctor and having them diagnose it. One of the hard things about a disease that isn't genetic or environmentally caused, people say that Parkinson's, you may be predisposed to it genetically, but it will be an environmental factor that will help kind of pull the trigger for it.
Absolutely.
So my grandpa had Parkinson's. That doesn't make my mom or dad more likely to have Parkinson's. The percentage is like 1 to 1.5% more likely. However, sometimes things that you're exposed to. So, for example, people who fought in Vietnam and were exposed to Agent Orange have a much higher likelihood of having Parkinson's. Firefighters, unfortunately, some professions like welding, where you're exposed to certain chemicals, can trigger the disease. And that is all that information too. And also, if you're looking to really delve in deep, is available at parkinson.org, which is our website. You can call our helpline, which is 1-800-4PD-INFO. And those resources are more professional, and also those are the doctors and the nurses and the social workers behind our organization that can kind of help muddle through if you could be at risk for Parkinson's.
And it's really important too. You probably have a very good primary care physician, but it's also very important to see a neurologist and in some instances a movement disorder specialist at specific certain hospitals, because they are trained in Parkinson's and specifically so they can really diagnose and get down to the root of it. So when it gets to that point where you think you need a little bit more, then it's really important to get a referral to a neurologist or a movement disorder specialist within one of the departments.
That's really good advice. That's great. So the Parkinson's Foundation that you became involved in, both of you are involved in, right? Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So the Parkinson's Foundation is actually pretty new. We merged two organizations, the National Parkinson Foundation and the Parkinson Disease Foundation, NPF and PDF, a lot of fun acronyms. We merged in 2016 to form the Parkinson's Foundation. And the reason was simple. We wanted to streamline the process and help more people. We went from being a smaller organization to a nationwide organization. One of the amazing things that the National Parkinson Foundation brings to the Parkinson's Foundation is our Center of Excellence network. So around the country and internationally, we're in Italy and Canada. So it's an international network. We have 42 centers of excellence. And centers of excellence are NPF approved or Parkinson's Foundation approved hospitals that treat people with a whole care system. So as Bob was saying, movement disorder specialists are different than neurologists. They're people who are trained to recognize the symptoms of Parkinson's, to titrate medicines better, so that if you're taking certain medications, you're taking them at the levels that will give you the best outcome. So one of the terms that we use in Parkinson's is on and off periods. So an on period is when you're on your medicine and it's working, meaning that you're not experiencing the motor symptoms. So you're not freezing at the grocery store. You're not experiencing a strong tremor. You're not having problems sleeping. And an off period or an off episode is when your meds are not working. So when you're titrating medicines and making them work better, you're changing the levels or the hours when you're taking the drug so that you can have stronger and longer on periods, which leads to a better quality of life.
So the goal is to have more of the on period.
Absolutely.
So is it because their medicines just stop working after a period of time and they need a new medication?
So over
or
time,
your body builds a tolerance to it? Or?
It's over time your body stops producing dopamine. So Parkinson's is, as the neurotransmitter degenerates, you produce less and less and less dopamine, meaning we are supplementing it more and more with drugs. So over time, you have to change the regimen to match what's happening within your body. And then unfortunately, by the end of the disease state, you're no longer producing dopamine, and that's where it gets more complicated, because the drugs that are currently on the market can't produce dopamine. They're just supplements.
And there are even different alternatives to drugs. There's something called DBS, deep brain stimulation, and during our support group last month, we had Dr. Ron Alterman, who came, and he's actually a neurosurgeon it's himself, and he performs that actual surgery. And he went through the aspect of how it's implanted and a kind of a programming pacemaker type is implanted as well to help produce more dopamine in your brain through that. And he's actually going to be speaking to a group that we've put together later on this month. So there are other aspects and other methods that can be done if medication is not producing or it's being outdated, basically.
And so the money raised by the foundation is actually supplementing that or paying for those clinical trials and research to find... No,
sorry.
Yeah.
I'd like to correct that.
Okay, well, that's what I'm asking. Is that what the Parkinson's Foundation...
No, so the Parkinson's Foundation's mission is kind of threefold. We absolutely have the money we raise goes to a few national programs that are that I'd love to highlight. So we don't pay directly for research, which is a key detail there. But we do have our Parkinson's Outcome Research Project. So that does have research in the name, but the research project has about 9,200 Parkinson's patients across the country. And using that study, we found patterns and trends in Parkinson's disease. And as Bob was saying, the disease is different for everyone. People who work with Parkinson's patients will say, if you've seen one Parkinson's patient, you've seen one Parkinson's patient, which is the hard treatment model. So the Outcome Project, the goal is to find trends and patterns within Parkinson's, which is where we have found a few key findings that we've now implemented for programs nationally. So for example, over time we found that when people are hospitalized, so because Parkinson's comes with falls and it comes with freezing and movement, there's a higher frequency for falls and injuries. So people go to the hospital. And unfortunately, when people are in the hospital, of those people, 3 out of 4 people who are hospitalized don't receive their Parkinson's medications on time. So if you're specifically timing your medications, if you're taking them 6 times a day and you need to take them at 10 a.m. and when you're in the hospital you end up taking them at 10:30, well, that bumps the whole cycle and can lead to longer off periods, which can make the complications from the disease larger, meaning you're in the hospital longer. So we found that and said, how can we fix that? Which is where the Parkinson's Foundation started our Aware and Care kit program. So the Aware and Care hospitalization kit is an actual black bag that people can order for free on our website, and it comes with all of these resources that you can use when they're going to the hospital. So not only does it have a tear-off sheet that says, these are my medications, and here are contraindicated medications, because when you're taking a regimen of drugs, there are many that interact poorly with Parkinson's drugs. And the last thing you want is complications from that. And if you're in the middle of a freezing episode, maybe you can't speak. And that becomes very difficult for people who are being transported, right? So it has this tear off with the medications. It has a Parkinson's alert bracelet. It even has a card for police officers and first responders that says, I'm not intoxicated. I actually have a neurodegenerative disease. Because unfortunately, the slurring of words, maybe the erratic walking, can look like you're drunk. And we want
diabetes, low blood sugar.
Exactly, right? So we want people to understand the disease. And that kit came from our Parkinson's Outcome Project. So people can order it and use it. And we get amazing calls on our helpline all the time saying, I used this kit. I grabbed it when my husband had a fall. And we went right to the hospital, and it really facilitated our visit.
And it's free.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can go on the website and just order it.
You got it. Yep. Awareandcare.org. Awareandcare.org.
So that's where the foundation. So the foundation's really purpose is not to fund research. It is to do all of these different projects to help people with the disease make it easier in their life to live.
Well, there are also some grants, which I want to say, an example of with each moving day, with what we raise, there are certain grants, organizations that apply for grants, and we go through a process of determining which ones to do it. So
we want to support on the national and local level. So those national programs, like our helpline, which is open 9 to 5 every day, and you can call. Those are the professionals. I am a community development manager and a fundraiser. So when it comes to actually the nitty gritty, I don't know neurologists as well as our helpline does, right? And those national services are available in areas where we don't have a local presence. So if you're all the way out in Springfield and you're not going to come to moving day, you can call the helpline and learn more or get resources there, right? But on the local level, absolutely, as Bob was saying, our moving day events help provide community grants and community support within the greater Boston region. So each year after our event, part of the funds stay local, and different organizations can apply for a grant. The grant cycle for this year will open up in spring of 2018. And in the past, we've helped support different movement-based programs. And the reason for movement, just to go into that first before talking about grants, is another finding from our Parkinson's Outcome Project was that people who exercise 2.5 hours a week are getting a higher quality of life and slowing the progression of the disease. And when a disease comes with anxiety, when it comes with cognitive issues, when it comes from a desire to isolate, movement and exercise classes and an opportunity to leave the home can be huge too for quality of life. So that means anything from dance for PD programs to cycling to rock steady boxing to seated drumming to stretching. And these are all different programs that you can absolutely ask more about, and I'll tell you more about them individually. But they're all programs that have positive impact for people with Parkinson's. The Tremble Clefs are a very fun group based out in Waltham who sing. And singing is big as a vocal exercise. It helps with voice when you're losing your voice from the disease. And the Tremble Clefs are also a community in which you can share your disease and your diagnosis and have a group of people who all have Parkinson's but also all love to sing. So these community grants help support programs like that. This year we had, I think, 8 applicants, and we're able to give out 3 grants. And they went to programs like Rock Steady Boxing, based out of one of our centers of excellence, the Beth Israel BIDMC, Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center.
That's it.
A nice title there, but...
So what is the boxing? I'm curious about what they're doing.
So boxing, Rock Steady is a specific program within boxing, but there's a bunch of different boxing for Parkinson's. But over time they found, there's a study based out of Indiana where Rock Steady Boxing is based, that found that boxing and the movements that go into boxing, all the jabs and the punches, the hooks, the moving of your feet, all of these different type of motions, can stimulate the brain in a way that really positively impacts people with PD. Right? It's non-contact boxing, absolutely, because there is a connection. It's funny because there is a connection with head injuries and Parkinson's. So a lot of people will say, wait, I feel like boxing is bad. But with non-contact boxing, it's those non-repetitive movements can help build strength part of their program is teaching people how to fall so they can roll instead of falling and breaking something. And it's there's a big community sense there as well. There's some great programs absolutely around the greater Boston area that do that.
Area, right. Because specific trainers go through, I think it's the Midwest, and they go through a specific training program. They come back and they can, through local gyms, they will put these programs together and go through it. And it's actually a whole process too. It's not just the jabbing and the boxing, but it's the whole training program, almost like you're going through and getting ready for a boxing match.
Wow, that's fascinating. So are these grants throughout Massachusetts, or are they specifically in the Boston area? Or
we try to support as many areas as we can. One of my goals as a community development manager is to move into the Worcester area more and support groups that are further out, right, in the center of Massachusetts. I'm not a Boston local, but I understand Boston a little bit better from living here for a few years. And we do have 3 specific parts of the state, right? So as of now, we're supporting a little bit closer to Boston, but as we grow as an organization, as we raise more money, the goal is to be in more areas so that more people can have access to resources.
that would be great, because sometimes Boston's too far for people to go for those
absolutely.
resources. So that'd be great as they move further out west.
And we can certainly encourage the audience looking at this to, if there is a particular program, to apply for a grant or so forth. So it doesn't matter really where you are. If it's something that's really important and helpful as a resource to Parkinson's, please do.
Yeah.
And they would apply through the website or through the Parkinson's Foundation?
Yeah, or through reaching out directly to me.
Okay,
but
and you're going to give your contact information at the end, and we'll have
yes,
it on the show as well.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So what about moving day? So tell me all about it.
Sure.
I can't wait to hear about moving day.
Well, Bob can tell you from the beginning what
All right,
the event
Bob.
was like, if you'd like, Bob, or I can give you the summary.
We can start from the very beginning.
Yeah, from the very beginning.
From the very beginning.
From the very beginning.
Very beginning was very interesting because we had it all set up, and it was probably the rainiest day of the year.
Always.
That's how it works.
Always.
Your first year,
Always.
it's always going to rain.
Always.
It was on a
Knock on wood.
Saturday
It won't
morning.
rain
We had a
this
lot
year.
of preparation. It was really great. We raised, I think it was about $120,000, more than we thought we would. And we had Randy Price, who was like the MC of the event, and had a lot of people. And from probably 9 o'clock to 12:30, it poured. But it didn't matter. We still had a really great event. We had the course. Many people brought others family members, and walked the course, which isn't a long course. I think it's either half a mile and 3 miles. Correct?
Sure. Yeah.
So why is it called Moving Day?
Thank you for asking.
Yes, I'm dying to know why.
Moving Day, the event itself, is a celebration of movement. I think I want to
So
keep
it's all about
highlighting.
movement. So
Absolutely.
Parkinson's is really all about movement.
It is, and it is a movement disorder, so that is
Yeah.
a part of it as well. But as I was saying, because exercise plays such a key role in quality of life and slowing the progression of the disease, we want to highlight that and bring people together to celebrate that. So it's more than just a walk. Absolutely, there is a 5K component. You can walk on the Charles, get to walk over the bridges, see how beautiful our city is. You can do our 1 mile out and back route if that's more comfortable for you. But for people with PD, maybe walking isn't their choice. So we have a movement pavilion that will be running PD-friendly exercises throughout the day. And what that means is a dance for PD class. We'll have seated drumming for Parkinson's. There'll be a section on boxing for Parkinson's. Nordic walking is a new one we'll be bringing to the Boston community this year, which is walking with poles, and the system is more effective for people with Parkinson's. Last year we were lucky to have the bike bus, which is a very fun bus filled with spin bikes, because cycling for Parkinson's is a really positive exercise. And this bus drives around while people can work out. So we try and bring that and highlight the importance of movement so that people really can get a grip on it, right? Not only do we have that movement aspect, we'll have a whole bunch of sponsors there who will be talking a little bit about what they can bring to the table when it comes to Parkinson's. There are a lot of side effects or parts of the disease that need to be managed, and there are pharmaceutical therapies that can help with that. So we want to give people those options. This year I'm very excited. We'll be having the Service Dog Project there at Moving Day, and the Service Dog Project is in Ipswich, Massachusetts, and they actually provide dogs, Great Danes specifically, for movement disorders to help with walking and falls. So Great Danes, there's a few requirements, and they can tell you more about it at the event, but Great Danes are big enough that if you have a fall and you're like a 160-pound person, you can use your dog to get back up. Isn't that amazing? And they walk. People walk with their dogs. So Great Danes and the Great Dane puppies will be there. Mainly for me, love dogs.
Me
but
too.
but for everyone else, so they can see the kind of options that are out there. We try and make it fun. There's going to be a kids zone, and the kids zone this year will feature a pumpkin patch because our event is on October 14th, so people can paint pumpkins and bring them home for the kids. We have a sign making area so you can support your family and your team. People make teams and join the event. So we have some fun teams. I know we've got our team Rocksteady Boxing. We've got the Barbara Brigade. We've got the team Boots. People form a team maybe around someone living with PD. Maybe they form a team because they lost someone to Parkinson's. And that team not only comes out and supports, but a lot of the time they fundraise because the funds that they raise go directly back to these national and local programs that are supporting people with Parkinson's.
And the New England Revolution are going to be there.
They are. In fact, right now, we are running a really fun fundraiser with the New England Revolution to get 4 field passes to see their game on September 30th.
That should draw people in.
Oh, I mean, you get a tour of Gillette Stadium, and I know people love Gillette.
Yes, they do. That's great. So when is moving day? What is the date?
Yep,
what is the time? How does someone get involved in moving day?
So moving day this year will be October 14th, and it starts at 9 a.m. Registration opens around 9:30. You can get involved by going to movingdayboston.org, or you can send me an email. I'm the coordinator of the entire event, but people can register online right at that website, movingdayboston.org. And since it is a fundraising event, we strongly recommend fundraising, but you don't have to. If you raise $100, you do get a Moving Day t-shirt, but fundraising is just one part of the event. So if that makes people nervous, which I know it does, it's okay. We want you to come out and support anyway.
Okay, and where is it located?
Yeah.
Where is the Moving Day?
Moving Day is at Artisani Park, which is on Soldiers Field Road in Boston, Massachusetts. It's right by Harvard Stadium with plenty of parking and beautiful views of the Charles.
Sounds beautiful. I think everyone should get involved. Absolutely.
And you don't have to, again, with the fundraise, you can even just come and volunteer. Or you can register as a volunteer.
Yeah.
We're always looking for people to help with the registration tent, with actually around the route, cheering people on.
Hand out snacks.
Right, giving out snacks and so forth. So you can do that, or you can help. You don't even have to come. You can help with the fundraising aspect of it and join the team. It would be great to come.
Sounds like you should
but if
go,
you can't make it,
You should probably go.
It sounds like a lot of fun to go. It sounds
I
like
mean,
a really
boy,
lot of fun. And it's
I'm
fascinating
excited.
the way they use movement
Absolutely.
to help people with Parkinson's disease. I wish I had known all of these when my dad had MSA, which, he had a lot of the Parkinson's symptoms. So I wish I had known about all of these things.
Well, that's why we're here.
Well, it's wonderful. And you guys have been such a wealth of information, and I'm so grateful that you came. Unfortunately, we've run out of time for our show today, but
I'll have to come back.
So let's review where they can get the information.
Sure. You can find more information about Moving Day at movingdayboston.org or by emailing me, Francesca Villa.
Okay.
Do you want my email address?
Yes, go ahead. Give me
Sure.
your email.
My email address is fvilla@parkinson.org, or you can call our community development line, which is 908-420-8865.
And if you're looking for anything just to get involved, as I had mentioned before, I was looking for just something, and I happened to get involved with this through our company Right at Home, and it's just blossomed into such a great resource for me and for others, and such a great organization, and just getting involved is great if you're looking for anything in that respect.
We always need a lot of volunteers. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I'm great, so you get to volunteer with me.
Well, there you have it. She's great, and you should volunteer. And so I just want to thank you both for coming, and what you're doing to help people with Parkinson's is phenomenal. So thank you so much for putting your heart into this very important disease. And we're going to end Parkinson's disease, right?
There it
we
is,
go.
yeah.
That's our goal. So, and I want to thank the viewers for tuning in today, and tune in next month. We're going to be having the Department of Public Health, Max Alderman, who will be talking about the diabetes prevention program and preventing type 2 diabetes. So please tune in then. But until we meet again, remember to live your best life every day starting today. This is Scherrie Keating. Have a great day.